Jürgen, you don't have a voice. You're muted.
Hello, everybody. It's on the evening, and I was muted as usual. Something needs to break. And we are back with BiCoTa, the Bitwig Community. And you heard him already. I'm here with my lovely co-host, Odo. How are you?
Hello, Jürgen. I'm really fine. And thank you for this wonderful day. And how are you?
I'm fine. I would prefer to be on a lake, maybe, but why not talk in a sweaty 30 degrees here in the cellar? But that's great to be here because we also have, as usual, a great guest. And I'm pretty honored today that we have Thavius Beck with us. Hi, Thavius.
Hello. So you're muted too.
Yeah, it's a theme today.
Still muted. That's the real audio podcast. We all have problems with audio. That's the real one, that's the real deal.
So, that's how you notice that you're talking to audio experts.
Yeah, always. So you were at the lake today, Jürgen?
I was at the lake, which was perfect. So we have here in Germany, it's currently in the south, 32 degrees, and that's okay. So it's not 40 as 2 weeks ago, but we are doing well. So Thavius is gone.
Yeah. This was a quick.
That was a quick show. So it was nice to see you, everybody. And yeah. But what's up to come? So we're going to talk with Thavius about teaching, but also about many tips in Bitwig. And we definitely will talk again about Bitwig Studio 6.1. And it got several updates since the last show. We are currently into beta 4. Mm-hmm. And we might do some tinkering, and also feel free to ask your questions. And Thavius is back.
And I think I have some.
And with voice, yay!
Yes. Yay! All right. Not just a pretty face, yes. Okay.
So, back to the questions. How are you?
I'm much better now that I can be heard, yes.
Yeah. So, where are you located?
I'm currently in Brooklyn, New York.
In New York, okay.
Deep in the basement, enjoying the cool, yes. We had our own little heat wave about a week ago, so it's nice to not be sweaty. So.
I've been once to New York where it was pretty hot and pretty horrible out in the street. So it's the same there. Or?
Yeah, pretty humid, a little sticky. It's officially summer, so
that's great.
And you had a typhoon there, right?
A typhoon? No, not a typhoon. It was a pretty big thunderstorm. Things get exaggerated on the news, Okay. So it was like rain and some thunder, and it might have looked like a typhoon or a tsunami. It was just some rain. It wasn't too bad.
Okay. So everything is still there. No new movie from New York, like The End of the World or something.
I mean, they'll make one anyway, but no, it should be fun.
You could make the music then, the film score. So
because it's live from there.
Yeah, most of my stuff sounds pretty dark and cinematic, right? So it would be a good fit. So
yeah.
Escape from New York, Part 2.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Snake Plissken. Yeah, nice.
So there are some comments here a little bit too quiet. Thavius, can you turn it up a bit, maybe, or
yes.
go closer to the? Like
yes,
this.
Yes, I can. Hello. Is that better?
Maybe just put the microphone a little bit more closer to you.
Check 1 2.
Yes.
Perfect
like this. Yeah.
We're gonna wait for the chat then when the chat is still complaining.
For the people who have no idea, who are you? What are you doing?
What am I doing? Let me see. I am first and foremost an electronic musician. I've been making and releasing records for 20 plus years. I'm also a longtime music educator. So I started off doing I became an Ableton certified trainer in 2008 and eventually became a Bitwig certified trainer in 2015. My certification's hanging on my wall. You probably can't see it right now.
Oh,
a little bit.
Can you show us them? I've never seen one. That's interesting.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me grab it. Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
So they really have a certificate.
That is me, yes.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Look, the old logo.
Yeah.
Number 007. See?
With a signature of Placidus. Great.
Don't forge a signature. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah, we cannot do so. Perfect.
but yeah, music education, releasing music. I've worked as a MD, like a music director for different artists, so helping them on stage, preparing their stuff, playing as a one-man band.
Oh.
Yeah, done lots of online tutorial content. So there was a school called Dubspot I worked with for a long time. They were pretty popular. And they started doing online Ableton Live courses, and I was like the voice and the face of a lot of their content. So a lot of people ended up knowing me from there. And I've just continued to just be an educator. I was a professor at Berkeley for 5 years. So yeah, just music and technology. That's what I do.
So how did you start out at all? So how were your parents into music, or was it by accident?
It wasn't necessarily an accident. I mean, everything's an accident, right? But,
lucky accident.
There you go. No, I mean, my mom, I was raised basically by a single mom, and she would play music a lot in the house. So, and she sang, she was married to a guy. This was before I was even like a concept, but she was married to this guy who I think was a bass player. And if I'm not mistaken, I think she sang backup at one point in like his band or something. So she had some sort of musical ability, right? I didn't see her play instruments, and she wasn't actively doing stuff when I was around, but she played music all the time. So some of my earliest memories are she'd be in the living room or in the dining room, and she'd have some little drink in her hand on the weekend. She'd be rocking in a rocking chair and just playing a bunch of records. And she had this really cool collection of like soul and a lot of jazz fusion, So that's where I really got tuned into just a very different kind of sound. So there was soul, there was funk, and then just a lot of just weird jazz fusion stuff, Spyro Gyra and Pat Metheny and Jean-Luc Ponty, and that stuff mixed in with like Earth, Wind and Fire and Maze. And it was just a cool collection of music in the house, So that just sparked my interest. I was just always listening to cool stuff, So yeah. But how I started was I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and in the school system that I was in, it was a math, science, and technology magnet. So that means that those schools were focused on, those aspects. And the school had a concert band. I went to, was it Willard Elementary? So when you join the concert band, they have like a whole, stockpile of instruments, and you got to pick an instrument and keep it for the entire year, So I started off playing alto saxophone in 4th grade, and then eventually moved to tenor saxophone in 6th grade, and was pretty good. I was like the best person in the band, and I got to solo on all the songs, and eventually got to be in the advanced band, which was the jazz band, and blah, 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 blah. So I was just seen as like this talented kid in school. I just had musical chops, and it was just my thing. So, but I was also really into hip hop, and the whole idea of being able to like make an entire album by yourself was really appealing to me, because I didn't have a lot of
what time was that around, kind of?
This was let me see. So 4th grade for me was what, 1989, 1988, 89, around then.
So and 80s,
yeah. And the thing is that like at that point, I had a Casio SK1 sampler. It was the first sampler that I ever had, the first like electronic piece of gear. And again, I was into hip hop stuff. So the whole idea of like sampling and looping things, like I understood the concept of it. I didn't have any equipment though. So this was back when, everyone had like these home hi-fi stereo things where you'd have like a turntable and a dual cassette deck, right? And a radio. And I would just listen to the radio, and I would do like pause mixes, which is, how a lot of people get started. You hear something, and then like you record a piece of it, and then, you pause and you try to dub that onto another tape, and you basically just create a loop. So I would do stuff like that. With the Casio SK1, it had like 1.5 seconds of sampling time. So, again, you have the double cassette deck, and it can do high speed dubbing. So if you play the tape twice as fast, you get double the sampling time when you record it, right? So just all those kind of tricks, and just the music I was listening to, it was the right mix of like cool musicianship. Hip hop was sampling a lot of jazz. I was playing some of that stuff. And the technology was new enough where like it was still kind of a Wild West, So, so that was it. I was just, having fun exploring ultimately,
So your first steps into music was kind of the genre of hip hop and jazz. I mean, hip hop has a lot to do with jazz from the history a little bit, where it comes from, and it's adopting a lot of stuff, even if in my opinion is going away from the jazz, but there are also always some nice how do you call that? When you are reminded of jazz, what they're using.
Oh yeah, like a reference or
reference. Thank you. Yeah, like a reference. Yeah. Okay, so you started over with hip hop and jazz, and what was the next step then?
well, and rock as well.
Whoa. Okay.
Because I've got a pretty eclectic palette. In addition to being into jazz fusion stuff and hip hop stuff, I was also into like relatively heavier metal. I like the sound of like really crunchy guitars. So Megadeth was one of my favorite groups.
Okay.
I was into Slayer. Eventually I was into grunge. So Nirvana. Soundgarden was one of my favorite groups. I got to see Chris Cornell play solo before he passed away. So stuff like that. Then eventually being able to work with a group like the Mars Volta. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Mars Volta.
No.
One of the most like, a lot of people when they first came out were saying that they're like a combination of like Led Zeppelin and Santana, which I can see,
Okay.
but I got to go with them on their first tour when they got signed to Universal. This was in 2004. And just incredibly talented musicians, and then actually got to have the lead singer. His name is Cedric Bixler Zavala. Make sure I say his name right. I actually got to have him as a guest on one of my first records when I got signed. So it was a mixture of all those things. So saying that to say, going from playing saxophone and concert band, I eventually started playing bass guitar when I was about 12. And never really took it that seriously. I took lessons, I dabbled a bit, but I would take the money my mom would give me for lessons and then go to the arcade down the street from where I was supposed to do my lessons. Be playing Street Fighter all day. I really should have stuck with the lessons, but whatever. So I can play a bit. But then from there, the big like breakthrough was when I was 12. So this was in the early 90s, 92, 93. There was a songwriting. Well, there was an arts camp that was made available through a college in North Minnesota, like Moorhead, Minnesota. And it was a 2-week thing. And there was 5 different departments, and you could do either visual arts or like theater or something else. And then there was also music. And they had a studio there. And basically, if you chose music, you had 2 weeks to compose and record a song from scratch.
Whoa.
So I was super inspired by Jean-Luc Ponty, and there was a specific song, Cosmic Messenger. The album Cosmic Messenger, the title song was my favorite song at that time. So I was like, you know what? I want to just remake the song, but I want to do it in like a hip hop way, and I want to like rap on it, right? And I want to do this all myself. Oh, I should have also prefaced this. 9 Inch Nails was like the biggest influence. So it was Jean-Luc Ponty, Public Enemy, and 9 Inch Nails. Those are like my 3 reference points, right?
Nice.
So my thought was, I want to be like Trent Reznor, where I can create a whole album in the studio that sounds like a band, but do it myself. But do that with the ethos of like hip hop production, right? Because I'm not a guitar player. So when I had this opportunity, they had the studio and they had a Roland S50 sampler, and they had a Ensoniq SQ2 synth sequencer, right? And I hadn't used either one of these before, but like, I'm pretty savvy with technology. So I figured out how to use them both, made the song. It was called Tylenol, right? It was a whole thing about like the music being like something to soothe your aching head type of thing. It was a cheesy metaphor. I was 12, right? But but the song came out pretty good. People liked it. And it gave me a chance to work with a sampler and a sequencer and MIDI in a studio and record the whole song myself, So that was it. At that point, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So
that's nice. Sorry, Jürgen, you wanted? Did I interrupt you?
No, it's all good. I thought you wanted to ask a question. Totally great. I had before the show, I did listen to some of your albums, and now I understand better why they sound like this. So it's a very interesting mixture of different styles, I think. So the newer ones might more go in direction bit Massive Attack, maybe with such, which have similar lots of influences as well. And it's very interesting. So it's not what I necessarily expected.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's always been kind of interesting because I can do stuff that's like a bit more trendy, but I don't want to, and it's not natural, and it's kind of hard for my stuff to fit into a particular box. So I was fortunate when I was in LA that, you know, a lot of people were doing left field music. There's a lot of weird hybrids and combinations, so it's not crazy to do something like that. But even still, like it's different. You know, it's not everyone's cup of tea, right? But I don't know. There's just something about like those combinations. It's the energy and like the sense of like I don't know, just making music that's just emotionally resonant, you know, and that's not like passive, you know. So which is funny because now I want to do like a more ambient album, which I guess would be a bit more passive. But anyway,
I wouldn't consider ambient as a passive part of music, because in my view is ambient music is moving a lot but very slow and in between the frequencies kind of, and that's, I think, is ambient. There's a lot of things going on, but most people just, you know, you're serving that wave of ambient music, but if you go deeper, you see all the colors that are moving around, all the modulations that here and there and so on. This is kind of a really nice journey. I like to listen to ambient a lot and just close my eyes and just deep dive into that music. So that's why I wouldn't say ambient it can be passive, but if you pay attention, it's really active.
Yeah, see, you're the person that I want as my audience. So,
so you have your first fan for that music.
No, it's good to know. You know, I mean, because that's one thing too. Is, you know, I guess as I've gotten older, you know, I don't always want to hear drums. You know, like it's interesting to me how much a lot of modern music is based around very similar patterns, you know, like a lot of drum beats in certain genres. There's only so many ways you're going to program the beat, right? If you're working in certain genres like house or techno or Jersey club and things like that, like there's only a handful of patterns that are acceptable before it's not that genre anymore, you know. At a certain point, it's kind of like, all right, well, what if you just removed the drums and focused on the melodic elements or focused on the textures and the modulation? It's interesting because there's something about drums being almost like it's like a clock, right? Like it the whole thing is I want to explore like getting lost in the music more. And it's kind of hard to do that when there's a steady timekeeper where it's like, okay, I've heard 13 snares and I know when I hear a few more, we're going to go to the next section of the song because that's how everything is struck. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah.
That's always what I find weird about electronic music, that basically whole genre is defined about one drum pattern and one preset sound.
Yeah, and it's usually because the first person who did it was doing something new, and everyone's like, "Oh, I want to do that," and then you know what they do. Here's a checklist of stuff, and now it's a genre. It's like I don't get that, you know. I wish more people were willing to just break free of it, you know, be weird just for the sake of it. Why not?
and do longer tracks, like not 2 minutes or 4 minutes. Do like 20 minutes tracks, and then you can have like drums too if they. Keeps being static. They got into like a trance element, not trance and techno. So they're just natural, going down to your heartbeat and everything. And then they mix up with the music. Yeah, it could be really interesting. But you're right, like the 13 snares, and then, you know, okay, 2 more, and then there will be change. Just don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and there's a time and place for all of that, and I do stuff like that too. So I'm not trying to like dismiss it or say it's not valid. It's just at a certain point when you've heard so much, you know, for someone like me, like it's not just I'm hearing stuff on the radio. I'm hearing stuff from students. I'm hearing stuff from clients. I'm hearing stuff all the time, you know. So, and I like to encourage people to, you know, do their own thing. But, you know, oftentimes if people are paying money to learn how to do something that they can make money doing, you know, telling them to just do their own thing usually isn't the best advice to help them make money, right? So it all depends on what people are trying to do. But I'd like, you know, I don't know, art for art's sake, you know.
But what you say is like tell them they're doing the wrong stuff. I think that gets more important. I don't want to open up this topic, but you know, with AI and a lot of stuff, AI can do what everybody's doing. So doing the wrong stuff could be really interesting in the future.
Well, that's a big part of it, is why do the formulaic thing? Because the formula is so easy, because it's a formula. Anyone can do the formula, right? Like if you know 1 + 1 = 2 and you know how to write 1 + 1 in an equal sign, then you can do it, right? It's like it's not that different. If you know 16-bar verse, 8-bar chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, we're done. Here's the key, here's a 4-bar chord progression, and it's a hit, right? Like I've been in the world where that's what's taught to people, because they're paying a certain amount of money because they think that that's what's going to get them the money back, right? And then it creates this feedback loop of really lame, uninspiring music, But if you think that that's the path forward, then that's what you want to aspire to do. So all that to just say that, like, that's why I really embrace just doing stuff that feels good. Whatever the journey, where that takes you, embrace the journey. Don't even worry about like the end result necessarily. Because if you enjoy the process, you'll probably end up somewhere cool, right?
Yeah.
And if the process is unique, then something in that is very human and very much you that AI couldn't replicate, because the whole process had human hands on it, right? Has your fingerprints all over it. So to me, that's just more interesting. I could teach somebody to make a pop song all day. It's not fun to me. It's not fulfilling, right? So
so that's a reason why you're going with this ambient project.
Well, it's one reason, because again, I want to do like 2 or 3 different projects that sort of fulfill different parts of my like creative needs, right? I've been stockpiling a bunch of stuff and I just haven't released it for various reasons. So so yeah, that sort of feeds this desire to like, I just want to do something that sort of steps outside of convention, and just play with tones and energy and just emotional response and see where that goes. But it's funny because I've been hesitant about it, just because I've been in my head like, well, what if people don't like it? What if they don't get it? What if my fans are like, put off by it and then don't want to listen to it? But that's so silly, because that goes against what I was just talking about, So that's the whole thing, is if you can do art for art's sake and you're not doing it to pay your rent, you can do it a lot more freely and honestly,
That's why I love to do this as a hobby. It's exactly that. Yeah. If you have to do that for a living, it's different. So then I read also your Wikipedia page. So you did quite a number of albums, as well as a lot of production collaborations. And how did that involve into teaching then?
It was primarily, well, I guess the best way to put it is this. So pick it up from the whole like history thing from before. I came to LA when I was 16. My mom threw me out and sent me to stay with my dad. And there was a bunch of people on the same block that I was on. And we eventually formed this crew together, this hip hop collective called Global Phlowtations. And we were doing records. I was producing for them. We were recording stuff on the 4-track. We were doing a bunch of shows. But people would bring equipment over to the house that, they didn't really know that well. And they would mess with it, or they might leave it overnight. And then I'd play around with it. I discovered some cool thing, and then I show them what I learned, right? So I ended up kind of being the dude, I wasn't thinking about it as teaching. It was just like, it was fun for me to just play with these tools and figure out interesting ways to use them. So fast forward a little bit later, a friend of mine had a cracked version of Ableton Live, and I had never used it before. I didn't know anything about it. And it was Live 4. It was Ableton 4. And he told me I should play around with this cracked version of it, and I messed with it for like a day, and I didn't understand it, and I got really frustrated, and I just put it away. And then I went back to it a couple weeks later, because I'm just stubborn like that. And then I started using the session view almost like a MPC, because I wasn't using any.
Sorry to interrupt, but did you use any DAW before, or did you use MPCs before, or what?
Any DAW? What did we have? We had a Cool Edit Pro, was something that I was multi-tracking.
Okay, I think that doesn't count.
SoundForge is not a DAW, right? We were like, let me see, Reason 2, yeah, Reason. I think I had used, which is not really a DAW either, but yeah, no, that was basically it. So and what is it? The MTV Music Generator. Are either of you familiar with that?
Whoa, no, what is that?
Okay, so yeah, so before any of this, before the Ableton Live thing, there's a PlayStation game. The name has changed now, because I guess they lost the license with MTV, but when it came out, it was called the MTV Music Generator. and it's basically a DAW for the PlayStation. And at the time that it came out, it was better than what I was using, because I'd used MPCs and stuff, but what I had was a Roland W30, which, if you're not familiar, it's a 61 key sampling synth workstation, but the sample rate on it was 30 kilohertz, and you got 14 seconds. No, you got 7 seconds. But if you cut the sample rate in half, you could double the sampling time. But that's pretty lo-fi. That's like 15 kilohertz, right? So the MTV Music Generator, since it's a CD game, right? You could sample from CDs. You could take the game out of the PlayStation, put an actual music CD in, and sample from that. Since you had memory cards, my Roland W30 used 3.5-inch floppy disks, right? So like the memory was very, very low. So having a memory card, you could save samples to a memory card on the PlayStation. That was a huge improvement. It was CD quality audio, and it was literally a DAW. Like, you had a linear arranger, you had like effects per notes, you had a bunch of audio effects, you had a huge sound library. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I made 2 albums on that. They're both called Operating the Generator, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And since we're talking about it, there's an album that I released in 2021. It was before the pandemic, called Cosmic Noise. And it's like an anthology of like old unreleased stuff. And one of the beats from that from the PlayStation album, what's the track? Principles of Rhythm. That's what it's called. That's the name of the beat. That was done on the PlayStation. And if you hear it, you wouldn't know, because you wouldn't know. It just sounds like a weird sort of drum and bass jungle hybrid that goes into a halftime section. But it was done on the PlayStation, So that was really my first DAW. Yes, there you go. Yep. And if you're into ROMs and emulation, you can find a ROM and you can, get your MTV Music Generator on right now. So.
Get back to the roots.
Yeah, I love that thing. And that was 99. So I want to say I was the first person to ever release an album using that. I could be wrong, but I could also be right.
Somebody should prove the opposite.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, someone in the comments do some research.
Yeah.
So that was my first DAW. But I didn't think of it like that, right? So I get Ableton, I get this crack, I don't know what's going on. And since I didn't have like a reference point for a DAW, I wasn't confused by the session view. I was just confused because of like, I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to do with this, And the whole concept of warping was weird. So like I said, I ended up using the session view almost like kind of like an MPC. I was just loading different samples, either one-shot samples or loops, and just triggering them, just playing the clips. I had some sort of MIDI controller I was using. But anyway, how that got into teaching. So a friend of mine had a relationship with Celemony, right? And he had a badge for NAMM. I'd never been to NAMM before. And he was like, all right, I got an extra badge. I'll hook you up. So I went to the Ableton booth, and I met Dave Hill Jr., who at the time was the vice president of business stuff for Ableton. Told him my whole spiel, told him how I was using Ableton, and I don't know why, but he was just sort of intrigued, I don't know. I guess I stood out to him or something. So he came to my house, because at the time Ableton's office was based in New York. So, it's not like he lived in LA. So he came to my house, saw what I was doing, and thought it was weird, but thought it was interesting, right? And ended up inviting me to one of the first Ableton certification events, right? And from there, I ended up getting certified. And once I got certified, that's when I thought, okay, I need to do something with the certification. I didn't finish high school. I didn't have any college degree. I had no degrees or anything at all. So I was like, this is my one piece of paper. I need to do something with this, Yeah. And then I started doing workshops. I created a free workshops that were open to the public based on Ableton Live. And that was
like in person then, because I think.
Yeah, in person. This was in 2009, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
And there was a movie theater in downtown LA called the Downtown Independent. And the person who owned it was really into Max MSP. So
okay.
I talked to him and I was like, would you be down to like let me use this space? There was like a room in the back of the theater, right? I was like, would you be down to let me use this room to do Ableton workshops if they're completely free and open to the public? And he was like, as long as you don't charge, and if you're down for me to sell concessions to people who come, then sure, So that was it. From there, every 2 weeks, I started doing these workshops. And yeah, it just kind of just snowballed from there. So
Okay, nice. So this was kind of the pre-YouTube tutorial sessions.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice.
It's really funny just how, like, I don't know, the online tutorial culture, just seeing how that's grown and realizing that, yeah, when I was doing that, none of that really existed. It's kind of crazy. So
Yeah. But it's still a good thing that people are doing that, because you can learn a lot. There's a lot of weird stuff online, but as well there are a lot of good people teaching good stuff. You have to search for that.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, look at that. Yes, that's how it looked. It was so weird. I don't like it.
It looks like today, I think.
Yeah.
Not that much has changed. Yeah.
Not that much, no.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's kind of funny to think of that, though, because I was looking at screenshots of like the first version of Bitwig and looking at that compared to now, even just minor aesthetic stuff, it does seem like significantly more mature. Let's put it that way, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So which version was that? That was version 3?
4.
That was 4, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, man. Fun times.
Yeah.
So local teaching then with Ableton, but this was more like a side hobby, or not a real job.
Yeah, I mean, the only real teaching job that I ever had, there was Berkeley, and there was, I mean, Dubspot, I guess. Dubspot was made by Dubspot. Like, I was an independent contractor there. So at Berkeley, I was actually like a faculty member, and that was like a proper job. You know, all the other teaching stuff that I've done has really just been hustling. You know, an independent contractor, having some relationship with some entity, and you know, it's at will, and I'm using my own materials and blah blah blah. So, but I mean, that was really the whole ethos behind the group that I was part of. When I came to LA, we were very much an underground, independent, do-it-yourself kind of a group, right? We were kind of anti-industry, anti-pop, like, you know, we're just gonna do it all ourselves, right? So, so that whole mindset was the same thing with teaching, where it's like, okay, if I don't need to be with an institution and I don't need to be like working for someone, then I don't need to do that, you know? So, but I was really fortunate. I didn't try to teach. It was never like a career path that I embarked on. I kind of fell into it, honestly, you know? So.
And obviously you had a lot of fun with that, because otherwise you wouldn't have done it for so long. So,
yeah,
and you have to be a kind of you have to have a kind of personality to do that as well, because it's not everybody's. You know, if people, you know it yourself, if people are a little bit don't get it, you know, and you have to repeat it and try to explain it different ways on different views, so you understand how they understand things, because everybody's a little bit different understanding things. So you have to get that, and this is not always an easy task. So getting into that,
so that's very interesting, because I also attended your workshop at Superbooth, the Bitwig workshop, and I thought it's so very, very good and very structured for beginners. And if you say you never learned that, how to prepare such a thing, or how to set it up, how did you get into that? Or how do you approach something like this? If Bitwig asks, hey, we need a beginner's workshop there, how do you get into that?
Well, you know, it's interesting because and thank you for that. I don't necessarily, I don't really know the best way to put it. Like, throughout all the years that I've been teaching, I've learned a little bit more to help sort of like make my foundation more solid. So in terms of, you know, how do you approach teaching certain people? Certain folks are more visual, certain people are more auditory, certain people really want you to demonstrate the thing in front of them. Some people really want to be more hands-on, and some people just need things explained to them very clearly, right? So like, I didn't understand that thoroughly until I had taught in a lot of different situations, you know. So it's really just been experience. It's been experience, and it's been like, you know, being fortunate enough to be around other people who've had more experience that were willing to give me the right advice at the right time, you know. So for the Super Booth workshop, for something like that, when I'm given the freedom to just do what I want and structure it in the way that I want, that's pretty easy, you know, because it's like, all right, this is where I'm starting. This is the objective, and let me just fill in the blanks, right? and let me just make sure that each step is supported by whatever I just did previously. And that's pretty much it, you know. And then at that point, I just have to stay on rails and avoid the temptation to do too much, because that's always the thing for me, is like I want to show more and I want to show more, and I just have to know who the audience is and just really be focused, you know. So that, you know, for the super booth thing, that's really all that it is. It's just, you know, I know what the objective is. This is where I'm starting. This is where I have to end up. Let me just create a roadmap. You know, it's just a basic outline, you know, so.
I was watching that really interested because I thought, you know, always ready to learn something new, because I do tutorials too. So I always try to get how other people do that. And I was really fascinated because when I saw, okay, beginners workshop, I say, wow, that's a big task, you know, because Bitwig is like this wide, where to start, where to stop, and what are you telling in between, you know. And I really liked how you did that, because you took one path through this whole jungle of Bitwig with all its possibilities. And I think this was really the best thing you can do to show people, when you have a task, you can go this way. You showed some other ways you can do the stuff you want to do as well, but you can go this way. And in between, you showed like there are a lot of other things on the left side, on the right side you can do, but we go this way because we have one task, we want to achieve that, and this is the way I do it. I show it to you, but there are so many other possibilities. And I really like that approach, because otherwise you could have said, and I have 10,000 more features I want to show you, and nobody would get it.
Exactly. I think that's a good sentence, that you should not fall into a trap trying to show everything, and that's really dangerous.
Yeah, and it's impossible to show everything, you know, and you just end up like backing yourself into a corner, because then, you know, I think the big thing is just not focusing on features, but focusing on like artistic workflow, you know. So that's probably the other thing, is that usually if I'm going to do a presentation, I tend to want to make a song or do something where there's like a tangible result, and we're not just talking about features for the sake of just talking about features, right? Like, how are you going to implement this in a cool way? And if it's something that I actually use and like, then I'll probably have a cool example to show, right? So, and then I can show it with more enthusiasm because I'm actually using the feature. So it's just, you know, it's interesting because, you know, in terms of like pedagogy and like formal teaching and whatnot, like, no, I haven't been taught like that. But in terms of just engaging people in a way where they clearly see that like I'm into what I'm talking about and I know what I'm talking about and I enjoy it, if you can do that, people tend to like stay engaged, you know, because you're not talking at them or just trying to sell them something, you know. So
yeah. exactly.
So if you haven't watched that workshop, it's online, and here's the full link. But I guess if you simply go in YouTube Bitwig, you can find it much easier than this typing this long text here. But nevertheless, we will also put it down in the comments later on, so you can also click in there. And even if it's a beginner workshop, I also picked up some info from that. So it's always good to have something, a renew of your knowledge, and really worth watching. And it's also interesting that in contrast to that, you did another workshop on the second day, which was the complete opposite, which was more like for the in-depth pros. And as you said, I simply show you how I work. It's not how you have to do it, but I show you how I put on the live set. And that's wasn't less straightforward, so more improvised as well. But sure, that's the pro level, and I think.
Yeah, the second workshop, I'm very curious to see how that's going to come out, the video, because like you said, it was much more of a winding path. And I did that on purpose, mainly just because the first one I knew was going to be more straightforward, and I knew people were going to come to both workshops. Not everybody, but some people would. So I was just like, all right, if this is meant to be more advanced, then I don't need to hold people's hands, right? Like, let's just talk about, here's a thought process. This is what I want to accomplish. And here's the process of me trying to implement this idea, you know? And that's why I didn't mind it being such a winding thing, because during the process, yeah, I might try to do something and then I realize that doesn't work, but maybe I can do this instead, right? I wouldn't try the alternative if I didn't try the first option and realize it didn't work. And sometimes doing that in front of people is good, because one thing that I've tried to avoid. I don't ever want to be like condescending, and I don't want to talk down to people or act like everything I do is perfect, because it's absolutely not, right? So, and also, if I can make a mistake in front of somebody and then we can figure out how to correct it or like make the mistake into something positive, then that's also a learning experience too, right? So the second workshop, it was fun for me. I was worried that I wouldn't land the plane. I'm not sure if I actually did. But it was crazy because there was more people in there, and I got a ton of positive feedback for that specific workshop, so
absolutely, yeah.
I think people do, people value, I don't know, when you can see how someone thinks and they're willing to let you into that, there's a lot of, I don't know, there's just a lot of value in that. So
experience.
Yeah,
it's this pure experience. That's what I'm looking always for, when I look for videos on the internet, or when I see people, always look for people showing the experience, and as well, very important, the struggle. When you can see that people like live performing or live showing stuff, and you see the struggle, I think that shows as well, like, okay, we were going this road, okay, this was maybe a dead end or whatever, or not at that moment the right path, so let's just try another one. And from that decision making, you can learn a lot too, even if you don't come to a finished product at the end. But the decision making is a big topic on all schools, on all YouTube tutorials, that repeats over time, again and again, so
absolutely.
You mentioned before at university they teach how to write a hit, basically. Is that what you had to do as well? So did they tell you what to teach, or how did that work out at Berkeley?
I mean, Berkeley was interesting. Initially, basically the way it worked was this. I was working at Berkeley NYC, which is a brand new campus, and I was there the very first year. And there was a syllabus, but it wasn't a syllabus they wanted to use. So they needed someone to rewrite it. So I had to rewrite it based on like what the objectives of that program was. And since it's a 10-month program, every year the syllabus changed. So that was kind of weird. And then the last year, I wasn't responsible for the syllabus. They had somebody else do it. So at that point, it was much more like, okay, it's not about what I want to teach. This is... Yeah, I don't know the right way to put it. I mean, there was a couple classes where we specifically were like, okay, let's look at this pop song and break down how this pop song is made. A lot of the references were focused on more like, big current pop artists, because those are the people charting, and that's kind of the idea behind, if you pay $60,000 to go to a program, I would assume they probably want to make their money back, right? So... And a lot of them are going because they're inspired by these pop artists and people they see and hear on the radio, right? So, it was leaning more in that direction for sure.
So Berkeley is also private university and you have to pay, as it sounds.
Yeah, it's not cheap. Yeah,
but there's an online Berkeley too. Is this the same?
I mean, they're all part. It's all part of the same parent, Berkeley is Berkeley, and then there's the Berkeley Conservatory, there's Berkeley in Boston, there's Berkeley NYC, which is a master's program, there's the online thing, they got a campus in Valencia, so there's a lot of different arms of Berkeley, and the online program is one. But earning your degree online is not necessarily the same as getting it at the physical college. So
because I was starting at Berkeley online one time, and then I found out in the first month that they organize everything on Facebook. And I'm not on Facebook, so I quit again.
It was short. Yeah. So that was an interesting question. How do I actually become a certified Bitwig trainer?
That is a great question. I'm glad you asked. So in terms of Bitwig certification, I'm probably the main person. I guess I am the main person that moderates the online certification events. So, yes. So I believe we'll probably have another one before the end of the year. We generally have like 2 certification events a year. We had one in, was it April? I think it was. That went really, really well. We had 20 people involved.
So it's online.
It's an online thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that it's done, since you're asking, whoever asked, thank you for the question. The way that it goes, it's generally 4 sessions. Each session is 2 hours. The first 2 sessions essentially just cover like, specific aspects of Bitwig. certain things that make Bitwig unique. So, talking about the modulators, operators, just certain workflow things, the grid, stuff like that. The third day is all about I kind of go over teaching experience. So just teaching in different facilities, different venues, and how that changes your approach. I share a lot of my own teaching experience. I talk about teaching tutorials in the classroom, a workshop versus a lecture versus an actual class, and just get into all that stuff. The fourth session is all presentations. So everyone who's there is given a topic, and you have 5 minutes to present on this topic, and you have a day or two to prepare your presentation, and that's it. And then there's also an exam.
What do you mean prepare? Some music or what is that?
Oh no! So because the certification event is meant for everyone to be able to teach when they're done, right? So the presentation is I give someone a topic. Here's an example. I might say, show a practical example of using each operator in a musical context.
Right? Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
And then you have 5 minutes to actually do it, but you'd have to explain it in a way where it's this person doesn't know anything about operators. So establish the foundation. What is the thing? Show it in the musical context, explain it along the way. Don't talk over the music, just can you present this effectively? Do you know what you're talking about? Can I follow you? And are you engaging? Yeah. And it's pretty cool. I mean, I think a lot of folks are kind of intimidated once it gets to that point, because I guess it could be kind of scary. But it's interesting because I always learn a lot, I assign the questions, but the presentations are cool because everyone has their own way of doing it, and I never know what to expect. And it's really open-ended. It's again, kind of we were talking about the super booth thing. I know what my objective is and I know where I'm starting, right? So with them, they know the objective. I have no idea where they're going to start, and I don't know what path they're going to take. So that day I end up learning a ton of stuff from everybody. But in terms of the process, Bitwig usually will send out a newsletter when certification events are about to happen. So just look out for that. Also, too, if you're really curious, if you follow me on Instagram's my only social media account. I'm just Thavius Beck on Instagram. If you follow me there, I generally will post when the certification events happen because I'm the one moderating them. So that's me.
And I guess there's a price tag on that. So how much do you have to pay for that?
How much is it? I'm not entirely sure of the price. I don't know if it's 800, 700 or 800. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Because thankfully I don't have to solicit.
You don't have to organize that.
Yeah. I don't exactly know how much, but I'd imagine there might be something from the last certification event on Bitwig's website. I don't know.
Yeah, but nevertheless, I think that's a reasonable amount of money for such courses. So it's not crazy expensive.
Yeah, the announcement was very short. I missed it. Okay, yeah. What I would say, if you're curious, because again, I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but we should be doing another one before the end of the year. And I actually had a couple friends who wanted to do the last one that weren't able to attend, so you're not the only one. But yeah, just look out, and you can follow me. I'm not trying to get followers, but if you're really curious, I will definitely post it online. So yeah, can't determine a regularity. It's understandable because, like I said, I don't know the exact schedule. I'm guessing it'll probably happen in the fall. I'd say maybe October, November, around then. So
great. So watch that space.
Probably not December, because December is always a month where people are in other hurry to Christmas.
Yeah, usually the idea is to do it around do it in the fall, but not too close to the holidays, usually before Thanksgiving as well in the States. So that's what I'm saying. It'll probably be late October, maybe early November. That's what I'm guessing. So yeah, just keep your eyes open.
Great. So maybe going back a little bit to production. So how, if you say also you want to make now a bit more ambient, how do you approach making music yourself? Do you also use hardware, or is it really Bitwig, or maybe Ableton?
Ableton Live? No. It's funny because I've had a lot of people ask me okay, do you still use Ableton? How long have you been using Bitwig exclusively? And it's Bitwig is great. I love Bitwig. I don't use Ableton much for production nowadays, just because I've used it so much for my job that I just don't like looking at it. It's just, I don't find it. I don't find it inspiring anymore. And that's not a knock on the DAW. It's just like I've used it for too long. I'm bored with it, you know. So
it feels like work.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it's like if I was on Zoom instead of on this, I'd feel like I was at work, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, Bitwig is great. I got a ton of hardware though. I have when I first started at Berkeley, I was actually told to teach modular classes. It was a whole class on modular synthesis. I had no Eurorack gear at all. They didn't know. I don't know why they didn't ask. But I was at the time I was consulting for Splice, and Splice was just paying me a ton of money. So I just went and bought a bunch of Eurorack gear. So I've got a lot of modular stuff over here. I've got like 3 different cases just full of stuff. I've got my Sub 37, which was gifted to me by a very, very good friend of mine, and I love that synth. What else? I've got an SP 404 Mark II over here, and Push 3, which I don't like, and I got a Deluge and Polyen Tracker Plus, and I got a lot of stuff. But the thing is that like I've acquired a lot of gear over the years, and I've tried different combinations and realized like in trying these combinations, I'm making a lot of stuff that I don't like just because I'm trying different combinations to see if it works, right? So what I've done recently, Bitwig is my center point, or my centerpiece. My Sub 37 is my main like controller and like analog piece of gear. And that's kind of it, you know, and then I'll just like mix in other stuff occasionally. I like using the SP 404 Mark II. I kind of use it as like a hardware effects unit. So I've got an effects track in Bitwig set up so I can route stuff out to it and play with that in real time. I've also got a grid device set up so I can control all the effects on the SP 404 within Bitwig, so I can modulate everything, and it's pretty cool. And then what else? Yeah, that's and I've got a mono circuit from Novation. I used to have a base station 2, which I loved, and I had to get rid of it many years ago. But I got the mono circuit, and it's not quite a base station, but it's actually a little bit cooler because I can use it like an analog drum machine, you know, because you can do the whatchamacallit, the patch switching. If you create a bunch of drum patches, you can then sequence those patches as if it's a drum machine, right? So I'll use that for analog drums. I have the Sub 37 as an analog synth, and then I've got Bitwig for all the other textures that I want. So
nice. And then also finish everything in Bitwig then, and mixing and
yeah. I mean, I've become very, very fond of just Bitwig's. Just I don't know. The workflow is great. I like how it looks. It works really well with this ultra wide monitor that I have, because you know in Ableton I would do a lot of stuff in the session view, and then I would like track that into the arrangement view as my very last step. With Bitwig, I don't use the clip launcher in the way that on the mix panel you can have it set up like it looks like the session view, but I just use that as a straight up mixer. It's just a full screen VU meters, and then I do everything else in the arrange panel, but I use the clip launcher there. So it's just nice because aesthetically it feels more like the information's more clear. The layout makes more sense, and it's just really inspiring. If I want anything to move, I can just modulate it really, really quickly, you know. So Bitwig is where it all ends up.
Nice. And you're already using Bitwig 6.1, the beta?
Yep. As soon as that beta got released, I've been on it every single day. Yeah.
And what do you think of it?
Man. As someone who is a sample-based musician, often I like manipulating audio. The sampler is there's nothing else out there like it, like not even close, you know. So it's been great. I've been making stuff 2, 3, 4 different things a day, just messing with the sampler, really, just recording stuff from YouTube, throwing random stuff in there, throwing old samples in there that I've used countless times and got bored with, just to see what I could do. And it's eye-opening. It's really, really eye-opening. It's amazing. I can't wait for more people to play with it, honestly. So, and no one's paying me to say that. So.
But they could.
And maybe they will one day. We'll see.
So your main focus on not since 6.1 is on the sampler, but before that it was already on the sampler, because you're kind of a sampler guy. Let's say it like this.
Yeah, I mean, with the hip hop background, the whole idea of sampling as an art form is, kind of the basis for a lot of stuff that I do, but also making sure you don't get sued, right? So the combination of those two things forces me to be creative when it comes to sampling,
Yeah.
So how can I show us as well on the picture?
You have to use a different scene in your studio. Maybe you have to create another one.
Oh, Randy, I have
to add us. I don't know. We're just faded out now. It's only Bitwig in the picture.
Yeah, keep on talking. I will try what I can do.
Bitwig.
There we are. But now there's no.
Now let's add a screen.
Yeah. I can.
What? No, I don't want
to the mix screen we were talking about.
So you get 3 tech people together, and this is what happens.
Come on.
Yeah, they just lost into how did
even
we
a
do
computer
that?
Scientist. It's a mess. Here we go.
So this was the mixer view you were talking about.
Yes, yeah, and just being able to have it set up as just VU meters. If you hide the clip launcher, and then click the icon to the right of the clip launcher. There you go, just like that. Yep. It's so nice, especially like on bigger projects with this big, huge monitor that I have. I have a 34, I guess it's not that huge, but it's a 34-inch ultra wide monitor, and it's been great. Because then I can have multiple things open side by side. But with Bitwig, if I have really big projects, to be able to see like all those channel strips, see the VU meters clearly, it's just a little thing that's really helpful, that I don't get in a DAW like Ableton. Not to just badmouth Ableton, but as someone who'd used it for so long, it's just these little minor conveniences, they all add up, so.
At the end, it's with every DAW, if it fits your workflow, if it fits how you work or how you get your intuition, it's for you the better DAW, but it doesn't say it's a better DAW than the other one, because all the DAWs have like all the advantages and maybe some disadvantages, I don't know. But at the end, everything that counts is how you feel with that piece of software. If it supports you or not, and if it's not supporting you, you're just lost with fighting against it. I had the same with Ableton too. I was really fighting with Ableton, and I couldn't make any music really. It was always a struggle against the software, and it should be more the struggle finding the music and not against the software.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and that's what's funny to me about, this DAW is better than that DAW, and, people are big, huge fanboys about like a company, and they're tools. If you can make good music in one DAW, you can probably make good music in any DAW as long as you figure out how to just use the tools. They're just tools, so use what inspires you, right? So
it's about the workflow, what you can get used to and what you like.
Exactly.
That was the question. How many? What's your relation with third-party plugins versus stock plugins?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the big thing for that is I don't want my projects to be missing stuff if I have to move from one computer to another.
Oh, good point. Good point.
For me, that's really it. And the other thing too is, after years of working with students, and students will come up to me and they'll have like 1 million plugins on a track, and they're like, something doesn't sound right. I don't know what's wrong. And it's like, well, you have too many things here to even assess what the problem is. Why'd you even add all this stuff? And then they start removing it one by one, and they're like, oh, it actually sounds better without all this stuff on it. So I think the simple answer is I prefer stock plugins, regardless. It doesn't matter what DAW that I'm using, just because it's already there. And any third-party plugin I want to use, I can probably accomplish the same thing with stock plugins. It's just a matter of knowing how to use what you've got.
Right.
There's certain third-party plugins where like, okay, that does something really special, but especially in Bitwig, I can use the effects grid and pretty much build anything that's not already stock. Like here's a good example. There was one effect. It was my favorite effect when I was playing live shows a lot, and back in the day, it was called Insta Jungle, right? In Insta Jungle, it was a 32-bit effect, and yeah, I had that ages ago before Bitwig was even a thing, right? And I wanted to create it in Bitwig. Basically, Instant Jungle is like a buffer. It's a buffer that can repeat the audio in certain rhythmic subdivisions, right? Half notes, eighth notes. It's a stutter effect, So I ended up going into the grid and I figured out how to make like 4 or 5 different variations of it. I ended up using the what did I use? I used the recorder. It's in the delay category. And the recorder is basically if you go to delay.
Yeah, I can't see it. There, wait.
You never opened it before, I guess.
No, I opened it, but sometimes Bitwig does this with me. I don't know why.
It's thinking, right? It wants to keep you on your toes.
So, but there's the recorder.
Yeah, so with the recorder, so the way that it works, you have an input for triggering recording, you have an input for triggering playback, and then you have the audio signal, right, which is the red circle. So yeah, see, Bitwig is so great. If you're curious, you just hit show help and you can figure out how to do it. I didn't know how to use the recorder initially. It confused me. And then I realized like, oh, you know what? I can record stuff into the buffer, and then I can set up either a data gate or trig to re-trig the playback. And then I could do this and have it sync to the tempo. And then I was like, oh man, I could really make my Insta Jungle effect, and I did it. And then I was like, you know what? Now that they have, what is it? There's a pitch. Is it a pitch delay? No, there's a pitch module that I added. What is it? It's a pitch because there's a grain knob in there too.
What does that effect actually do?
It's I'm trying to think. Is it in the delay? It's a pitch shift. It's a pitch shifter. There's frequency shifter and then there's pitch shifter. So I don't know if it's in. I don't know what category it's in, but it's pitch shift exactly. So pitch shift, there we go, and it has the grain rate knob. So what I did is I made it so that my Insta Jungle effect had an option to make the buffer repeat, but change the pitch as it's repeating, right? And then I also was like, all right, if I can change the grain size too, then let me actually map that to something. So I ended up taking this initial idea of like, I want this effect. I want this third-party effect that I don't have access to. I was able to build it from scratch and then add a bunch of stuff that the third-party effect didn't have. And now it's a native Bitwig device, So that's kind of what I mean is like the whole process, right? Like I could have found a third-party device. It probably would have been easier. But figuring out how to make it allowed me to not just redo it, but then redo it in a lot more creative ways. And it's stock, So that's, to answer the question, that, yeah, I'll always go stock over third-party, always.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but if you the other one is if you use third-party plugins, you should always make sure that you bounce everything in audio at the end. Yep. So even you only have the audio, you can still work on stuff, and you have to bounce it kind of intelligent. So you maybe without effects like reverb or delay or something. So you have still the dry one. And all that stuff, but these are all thoughts you have to do anyway. I think even you have stock plugins, but Bitwig has another nice feature. This is called like the versioning. So even if you have a really old session where the plugins or the stock plugins were updated in between, we had that with the drum modules. They were updated in between, and you still have access to the old ones, so you don't lose the sound. That's a really good thing.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's huge. But that's the big thing is just, for the sake of consistency, just avoiding third-party stuff. It's just really, really helpful. Not to say that it's bad or it's wrong or I'm like, shaming people or anything like that. It's just personally, I would rather just use the tools that I have unless there's just no possible workaround. Like one thing, if I really needed it, like there's no way that I could create like an auto-tune effect in Bitwig, and it doesn't exist. So if not I yet. Needed that, not yet, right? If I needed that, then yeah, I need a third-party solution, right? But I don't generally use auto-tune, so it's not that big of a deal. So
I'm a bit of the opposite. I use a lot of third-party plugins as well as hardware, and the only feature I'm missing is that if you render, so I do exactly what Odo said, render straight away to audio. I miss the release phase. So if you do loops and then go from loop to arranger, you always have to re-record or fake it with delay or something to make it work, and that's a bit sad.
I have a video exactly about that topic a long time ago, 2 years ago or something, because I had the same problem and I found a solution. You can do that easily in Bitwig. It's just how you bounce. It's just how you bounce.
Okay, tell me. What is the solution?
You have to bounce it in I think. Oh, you're challenging me now. As far as I remember, is that you bounce like the like 3 times the length. So you always have like the beginning. You have the beginning with an already playing stuff, and you have the release phase. And if you have this 3 times, you can just choose which part you're going to use.
Yeah, but how do you do that in a clip?
I did that
in a session.
I did that in an arranger and then put it.
Yeah, sure. In an arranger, you can do that. Yeah.
Which part you want to use. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, you could move it to the arranger, then bounce, and then move it back. So okay.
That works perfectly.
Yeah, maybe let's. Yeah, it's a bit of a hassle, but maybe let's do that. There was another question, which I'm not sure if I understood it. I guess this means repeat, recording note repeat.
How would you record it? Well, I guess it depends on if you're talking about recording the MIDI or the audio. If you wanted to record the MIDI, you could just literally record the MIDI into another MIDI track. If you open up another note track, they're note tracks. I go between different DAWs. You know what I mean? If you open up a MIDI track, instrument, thank you. Yes. If you open an instrument track, if there's no instrument on it, you can change the input to receive notes from another track. And you can actually receive notes from a specific device on another track. So if you had note repeats on one track, you could go to another instrument track and just set the input to receive the notes from that device.
Which note repeats are we talking about? One from a controller? So is
I'm assuming they're talking about the note repeat note effect, because I use that all the time.
Okay.
Is it note receiver?
No, it's note repeat. It's a
note repeat. Okay.
Yeah, it's a MIDI effect. It's a note. Yeah, it should just be note repeat. Yeah, there we go. Note repeats. Yep.
This one.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because it's got Euclidean patterns. I use this all the time if I want to do
like fake this is ratchets. Really nice. Yeah.
Because what's cool is you can throw that, like for instance, in fact, here's a cool little trick that I'll tell you guys. I do this all the time. So I like the stepwise note device, so I can do like step sequencing, right? And I'll put that before a drum machine, and I'll just draw in a pattern. I won't even use a clip. But then I can put the note repeats note effect on specific chains in the drum rack. For instance, like the hi-hat, right? Maybe I want the hi-hat to do some rackets every so often. So I can put note repeats just on the hi-hat and set the probability to maybe like 5 or 10%. You know, what I've realized is that doesn't always work because the notes sent from stepwise are too short. So then before note repeats, I add note length so that each note is actually a full 16th note long. And then with that combination, I get just really cool random ratchets on my drum patterns. So yeah, that and then note repeats if you put that after. Yep.
Yeah.
So the combination of those will make it so that each individual step, there's a probability that it'll repeat. And usually I'll set the repeats because it's a 16th note sequencer, or the sequencer is set for 16th notes. So I'll generally set note repeats for 32nd notes. Like the actual value on the repeats.
Yeah.
And yeah. So just, it's another way to program a beat, but it's a lot more fun. And especially because with stepwise, you can modulate the length of the steps, you can modulate the step size, and I just end up creating really fun, just generative patterns, just another Bitwig thing,
Yeah, absolutely. So was this the answer of the question? Did we get the question right?
Oh yeah. So the note repeat.
I guess so, but we have 10 seconds delay. Answer might be late then. But okay, I was confused about the question because I thought there's also note repeat on controllers, and there it's simple you simply press record. So I didn't get the question.
Oh yeah, I guess we should make sure. Well, you can clarify, or hopefully you're still there. I don't know.
Great. Keep them coming. So if you have more questions, we have the expert here.
There's another one from Colonialist. Uses Thavius converted by Moss or Jürgen's controller script.
So do you use controllers? That's the question, I guess.
Yeah, I do. But and I was using your controller script when I had Push 2, actually, which was awesome. Because I was able to visualize Bitwig controls on the screen, which was amazing. I'd also used your script for the Launchpad, I believe. But right now the controller that I'm using is my Moog Sub 37 and then also Roto Control. Since Bitwig was kind enough to send me one before Super Booth. And Roto Control is very interesting. I like it. I don't love it. But it's a good it's a good compliment for the Sub 37 right now. So
okay, tell me, why do you like it and not love it?
It's quirky, you know. There's certain things that don't make a lot of sense in terms of how the script works versus how the MIDI function works. Like if you just use it as a generic MIDI controller, you can set up pages and you can assign the knobs and the buttons to do stuff, right? But with the actual control script for Bitwig, if you go into like the plugin mode, the knobs will automatically map to the remote controls, but the buttons don't do anything. So they're just blank. They're just pointless. They don't do anything in the plugin mode, which is like, why not? You know, it has these mechanical knobs, you know, motorized knobs, and you can record automation on there, which is really cool. But you can only do it with the first 8 knobs. Like each mode has 4 different pages. So basically there's 32 knob assignments, but you can only use the first 8 for recording motion controls. There's just a lot of weird, I don't know if it's not fully done or like if it just wasn't fully thought through. It's cool, but there's enough stuff missing where like I like it, I don't love it, you know, but I do use it. So
yeah, I fully agree. So I absolutely love the knobs, but the workflow is,
That's my topic. That's why I use your generic Flexi to put them on new controllers and make them more useful for my workflow. So I am really happy with the generic Flexi. So I don't have any original scripts on my controllers. I did everything on my own except the Push 2, but I don't use the Push 2, to be honest, anymore so much.
Yeah, Push is it's so big. It's just too big. It's way too big. I did I've always had Push just because as an Ableton certified trainer. It's like I just kind of have to have one in case someone asks me about it. But I don't enjoy using it at all. And again, it's not an Ableton thing. It's just like as far as a controller and a portable device, the standalone Push is like 10 pounds, you know, and it takes up so much space. It's just not practical unless that's the only thing you're using or you have like a very, very big setup with a bunch of space, you know? So, but you know, to each their own. I know people who love it. Right. So, it's just about what works for you.
Yeah. And what's your fight with the Push 3? Because you said you have it, but you don't use it so much.
Well, no, I mean, again, I got it because, you know, I got a great deal on it because I'm a certified trainer, so I got a discount. I didn't have to. I was asked to do a tutorial course on it, which basically paid for Push twice over. So, like, you know, it paid for itself.
Okay.
And when I was touring, when I was working with an artist named Saul Williams, oftentimes it would be me and him. So I'm a one-person band. And having a bigger controller just made it look more demonstrative. Like, you know, there's always a theater aspect to performance. And it's not like I'm playing the beats live. I'm triggering effects, but I'm not doing a lot, right? So, like, the more I can make it look like what I'm doing is significant, the better. So having a big, huge controller just looked better on stage. But again, carrying it around, like, it would mess up my back. It was like, you know, it's a heavy device. So, and honestly, like, in terms of a portable battery powered thing, I've got a lot of stuff already that can do that. That's significantly smaller. You know, like the OPXY I have. I've got the Dirty Wave Mate, which I love. The Polyen Tracker Mini. I've got so much stuff. Anyway, those 3 things, and Ableton Move, which is great because you can hack it and then you can put a bunch of just other stuff on it. And my Ableton Move is hacked with a bunch. I don't even use the Move software. But I use the hardware because I can use it with a bunch of like mutable instruments. What is it? It's Schwung is what it's called. It was called Move Everything, but yeah. So, and all those things together are still smaller than push. I could use all of those and like organize them in a rectangle and it'd still be smaller than push, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, Odo was looking confused. So Schwung, I think maybe it's pronounced, is a kind of an extension. It's not a new firmware. It's an extension which you can add to the normal device, and then you've got tons of additional features, and you can choose which new plugins you want to add to them. So they have everything. I think samplers, new sequencers, and there's a big community about that.
It's huge and it's constantly updated, and there's a lot of cool stuff. There's even there's a Radio Garden on there, which I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like a website where you can listen to radio from all over the world. But it's actually on Ableton Move, so you can just go on there, load up Radio Garden on one of the tracks, sample from it, and then whatever. Right? It's got Euclidean sequencers, and it's really If any of you have Ableton Move, like, and you're not using that, it's amazing and it's free. Yeah. So,
it's granular synthesis, sound font support. Yeah, lots of interesting stuff. Vocoders, reverbs.
I think you sent me that already a long time ago, but because I don't have a Move or something, I just looked at it and said, nice, and that was it.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the thing is, Move is so much more attractive to me in terms of the size, because I like the build quality of Push, right? Like it's a very solid device, and Move has a similar build quality, but it's just so much more flexible, which might seem weird to a lot of people because it's only 4 tracks. So it's like, how flexible can it be? But once you have Schwung, once that's incorporated, it opens it up a lot. So
yeah, I think also the Push 3 is partially a step back from the 2, because I really dislike the knobs. So this huge knob, which you have also to push to the left and right, is not really working for me.
Yay!
We're Deluge Bros.
So what do I hold up now?
Since from Deluge fan club.
Let me actually take the case off here, because not only do I have this, but I also modified the sides. So I don't have the wood panels.
Yeah.
Yay! It's cute.
Because Colin Ellis already wrote it in the comments.
The Deluge is a lot of fun.
This is a lot of fun, yeah. And because I was thinking on this when you told the Push is too heavy, and for all of that, this is the size of a piece of paper, a little bit thicker than a piece of paper, but it can do everything.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. And then with the community firmware, it's very good stuff. So, and actually, it's funny you even brought this up, because in my former life, I was a minor coding hobbyist, teaching myself Python and C++. And when they first open sourced the Deluge firmware, I was dabbling with C++, and I realized that there was one thing that was really bothering me, because the way that this used to work, when you would change the tempo, it would do it in increments of 4, and you had to hold the knob and then turn it to do it in increments of 1. So I figured out how to fix that in the code, and I submitted it. And the whole reason that it changed the way that it works now is because of me. So now when you turn it, it's 1 BPM instead of 4. So I did that. That's it. I'm proud of myself. Okay.
So what is the work with that and Bitwig? Is it more for live use, or for getting starting ideas and then copying over to Bitwig? Or
it's interesting, because with the Deluge, that's the thing, is like, with a lot of the hardware that I use, where it's more of like a workstation, because the Deluge is basically a workstation, the stuff kind of stays on the machine until the song is like done or the beat's done, and then I'll just track it into Bitwig as just a stereo track. I don't even bother like separating the stuff. And there's a few reasons for that. I remember having a conversation when I was at what was it? It was a show I was doing. I think I was with Saul Williams, performing with him, and a guy that I've known for a while, Alessandro Cortini, who plays with 9 Inch Nails. Really, really cool guy. He was telling me about like his workflow, and he was saying that for a lot of his stuff, what he's doing is he'll just set everything up, he'll jam and he'll record the whole idea, and once he has what he likes, he'll just track that as it is. So he won't bother to go back and try to mix it or separate it or anything. He just wants to capture the energy of that moment, right? And I thought that was really compelling, because I've had
the whole stereo track.
Yeah, the whole stereo track. Yeah, like he'll set everything up beforehand to make sure it's going to sound good, but he'll just record it live, like in real time, as he's jamming or as he's doing whatever, and that's the song, And part of it is capturing that raw energy and like that feeling that you get when the thing is new and it's fresh and you're really, really inspired. It's kind of hard to like manufacture that after you're redoing the song multiple times in the studio, So, so I kind of took that same ethos, and plus, again, the stuff that I'm doing, it's not like I don't need it to be pristine. I don't need it to sound like polished, saccharine, like sterile sort of. If it's a little dirty and messy, that's okay. Like if the energy is captured in that, I think that's a trade-off that I don't mind making. So, so all that to say, like with the stuff on the Deluge, generally I'll make the stuff in the Deluge. I'll tweak it enough to make sure the levels are good, and then I'll just record it into the DAW. Usually the day that I've made it. And then I just play it in real time. I'll mess around, capture all that stuff. And then that's the track, but usually that's more for like an instrumental thing. If it's like a beat tape or like a, something that isn't necessarily meant for a vocalist. Although I did just produce a track. There's this rapper named, his name is Stro. He's based in LA. Really, really, really good. He's got a new album that I did 3 tracks on. One of them was made on the Deluge, and it was literally just the stereo track. I think I added 1 or 2 sounds in the DAW, but yeah, the basis of that is just straight out of the Deluge. It just has a certain sound. The Deluge has an interesting sound to it. Like it sounds different from any other machine that I have. So that's what's kind of cool about it. It's a quirky device.
and it's good for if you're playing live, because it's blinking and you can do all the knobs pulling all the time and turning and stuff. So if you need something that where the audience can look at, it's good because it's so many different colors blinking there. So
absolutely. But that is one thing that gets people in trouble, though. Sometimes if you have too many buttons and it's dark and you don't know which button to press. And,
those grid devices are always challenging, and they are cool to a certain degrees, and then it gets really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have something that you can sort of play by feel, and it's really hard to do that with a grid device, but that's the trade-off. The other thing, though, is if you play with it enough, because the Deluge, the grid on the Deluge is a pretty big grid, right? Like on the Launchpad, it's a little bit easier because it's 8x8. You can kind of feel your way around. And I think on the Launchpads, too, if I'm not mistaken, they did something really clever where there's like, I think this was done for visually impaired people, where there's like a small dot on certain pads. I think it's like, do I have a Launchpad here? I have one buried.
On the Launchpad, there's these dots you can feel,
Exactly. So you can kind of like get a sense of where you're at. Which reminds me, I remember I was at NAMM. This is when I was working with Novation. And every year Stevie Wonder comes to NAMM, right? And Stevie Wonder has like all these people behind him. And I guess the folks at Novation know Stevie, right? So they brought him over to the booth. And I think the Launchpad Pro had just come out. And they brought him over there and they had me like, they had me show Stevie Wonder the Launchpad. And I'm like, why the hell am I showing Stevie Wonder a MIDI controller with pads? Like, what is he going to, Anyway, I had to guide his hand over it. And he was like, oh. Anyway. It's weird.
But they had already the dots back then? Was it on the... Yeah, okay. So
yeah, in fact, I think that's why I knew, because however it is, there's 4 pads that have like a little minor dot or something on it. Anyway, so
perfect.
Maybe he was already involved in the development, and they had someone who said, "You have to do something about that, because how he can operate this thing in a way."
Stevie Wonder going to bang out those drums on the Launchpad, man. He can't see it.
Yeah.
So
we kept the best for last. You wanted to show us something new that just came out.
Oh, see, I like how you set that one up. See, you're one of the good ones. Actually, yes. I was just recently featured in a book, and thankfully the screen's not mirrored here. Here it is. And I'm very happy about this. This is a book called Beat Makers of LA Underground Hip Hop. And this is made by a person named Parker Pubs, independent book publisher. and it's an oral history of basically like the roots of the LA beat scene. So let me go up here a bit closer. These are all the names of the people who are featured, and you see I'm there, Thavius Beck. Daedalus is another very well-known producer. Some of you might know. Omid Walizadeh, he made a compilation back in the day called Beneath the Surface that actually did quite well. And each chapter is an oral history told by the people who were making the beats, like me. Hold on, here we go. There it is. Yay.
Yay.
So if you're curious a little bit more about my background, some of the background of some of these LA beat makers, this is also, this precedes a time in LA music. There was a club called Low End Theory, which was really, really popular. It was huge. And I got to play there a bunch, and a lot of famous people played there before they blew up. That was a big, big landmark time in the LA music scene. And that's when a lot of beat makers were really like the focal point of the music scene there. Right before that, this basically covers the time leading up to that, right?
Oh, okay.
So I was someone who was a big part of the Low End Theory scene. Daedalus is another person who played there a lot. There's an artist named Flying Lotus who's pretty well known. He signed to Warp. He's a product of that same scene as well. So anyway, I'm happy about this. This is available, and you can find it online. And again, if you look on my, if you go to my Instagram page, the link is on my bio as well. So if you're curious,
nice.
Check it out.
They are all the secrets you want to know.
Exactly. Everything. My blood type.
Yeah. Oh. Could be important in some of different clubs. It could be important to know your blood type.
Yes. There we go. Thank you so much. And there it is. And yeah, I'm really happy about it. You know, it's cool when people appreciate what you've done and are willing to, like, you know, share your story without you begging them to do so. So I'm grateful to be included, you know.
Yeah, and just found it. It's on Lulu, and it's the hardcover or paperback for 20 euros. So I need to put that on my Christmas list.
Yeah.
I got to get myself a hardcover copy. So.
Perfect. Yeah, I really love reading last time history about music. That's really interesting. So if there are people in the chat who want to ask questions, now's your chance. We have the expert here. So keep it coming.
Oh, I see someone just shouted out Ross G. Yes, rest in peace, Ross G. He was a huge part of that scene, and very good friend. Very good friend. So rest in peace to him. There's a huge mural of Ross G, actually, right outside of in LA. There's Leimert Park, which is a historically Black, culturally rich area in LA. And in Leimert Park, there's a place called Chaos Network. And there was a thing, it still goes on. It's Project Blow that happens. Collection of rappers, beat makers, very like a competitive sort of atmosphere, right? Anyway, where Project Blow happens at Chaos Network, when Ross G died, another fellow beat maker made some really, really good, compelling stuff. A lot of people were into Ross G's music. He passed away suddenly, kind of out of the blue. And it was a big blow to the community. So they have a huge mural of Ross G right outside of the Chaos Network. Last time I was in LA, I got to see it. And it was nice to see, you know, the community bigging up one of their own. So.
Yeah.
So comments. Go ahead. Puba Records. Yeah. I was just by Puba Records not that long ago because I was in Pasadena for my daughter's graduation. And yeah, I was right down the street from Puba Records. Yeah, man. It's crazy. The thing with LA, you know, the whole scene of beat makers and producers, it's, you know, it's competitive, but it's closely knit. And like, depending on your relationship or history with some of these folks, like, you know, a lot of, there's kind of like, I don't know, it's like family. There's, you know, they're all like brothers in a certain sense. So Rashi was one of those dudes that I knew from like way, way back when I was very, very young. Didn't know him closely, but we all had like, you know, friends of friends. He's always a cool dude, super humble, just made good stuff. He wasn't like in competition with folks. So So I don't know. When you find people like that in the industry, it's like, you know, it's just you got to make a mental note because not everybody's like that, right? So he's definitely a good dude. Definitely a good dude. Yeah.
Talking about that, since I have no idea about LE, how is the music scene there nowadays? Is there live music? What's going on?
In LA or New York or just
in LA? Oh, you're more in New York now, so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in LA, I mean, because I'm not there every day, but like from what I've heard and what I've seen, from my perspective, the part of the scene that I was in, where it was more about the beat makers, the electronic music scene, people doing like, you know, live instrumental shows, that has changed quite a bit because the main outlets for that are not what they were. You know, like I said, the Low End Theory was a club. It wasn't a big club, but it became incredibly popular, you know, to the point where Tom York came down there to do a guest DJ set because he was working with Flying Lotus, and Erykah Badu came there to do a DJ set, and Tyler, the Creator, when his whole crew first got signed, it was because they did a showcase at Low End Theory and they were all still in school. They had to like do the show at like 10 because they had school the next day, you know? So, so saying all this to say, like, that club is no longer. That went on for like 15 years. It was a huge institution. It shut down. There was nothing to really replace that, right? So there's still tons of live music, but there's not that scene is not what it was, right? But LA is LA, so there's always great music
stuff going on.
But that particular beat scene renaissance is no longer, you know.
Okay.
And in New York, you know, there's tons of live music as well. New York is a lot more concentrated because it's just smaller with way more people. It's not so spread out. But because of that, like, I think, what's the best way to put it? I feel like LA, it was more clear, like, if you're part of a certain scene or into a certain sound, you know where to go, right? Like, only certain venues are doing this kind of stuff. And if you're into that thing, you're going to go to these certain venues. Where in New York, it's like there's stuff happening everywhere all the time, right? So just trying to like be on top of what's happening requires more effort. But it's active. I mean, the scene in New York, it's super active. There's tons of stuff happening all the time. It's just not as concentrated, you know? So it might be harder to stand out, I think, in New York versus LA, just because things aren't concentrated like that, you know? So.
But it's great to hear that still something happening, and not everybody's only watching their phones and stuff. So it's
thankfully, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're coming close to the end.
We didn't talk so much about Bitwig. I mean, we talked a little bit about Bitwig, but all the 6.1 we talked about the sampler, and that is a big device, and we talked about the certification program and all that stuff. But
so what have the Romans ever done for us? You mean?
yeah, exactly. No, what I'm interested in you're part of this journey since Bitwig. Which version do you remember?
Before Bitwig 1. Like the very first second beta. It was really early on, yeah.
So do you have some milestones you remember? I mean, there's a lot of milestones in Bitwig every time they release a new version, but do you have some particular milestones where you say that was really big deal that time, and of which version where you said like, or was it an ongoing like thing?
Well, you know, it's funny because the very first thing that was attracted to me about Bitwig was related to my biggest frustration with Ableton Live was the fact that I couldn't edit audio inside of a clip. And that was my biggest gripe. Like, why can't I go into the clip and just create silence? Or why can't I just cut out this one beat and rearrange this, right? So the very first version of Bitwig, I could go into an audio clip and I could edit the audio inside of a clip. That blew my mind because I was only using Ableton, right? So from there, it gave me a different way to think about how I could mangle and rearrange audio. Like I know I could take audio and bring it into the arrangement view and then cut it up there and consolidate it, but it's like that's so many extra steps that I didn't want to do it, you know? So that was the first one. The next big one was it Bitwig 3 when the grid was finally revealed?
3.1, I think.
Yeah, because there was talk about it, right? And I always knew, like, that's what they wanted to do, was be able to have, let people basically like peek behind the curtain, create their own devices, show how all the devices are built from the ground up, to basically work and function interchangeably, right? Once the grid was revealed, that was huge. That, because then it's like, okay, this is what they've been promising the whole time. They actually came through with the promise, and to have that sandbox where you don't even have to work in a DAW workflow was another big thing, because again, for me teaching Ableton for so long, I started to notice I just had like habits. I would just open it up and just habitually start doing stuff. And I kept running into these same sort of like, this sounds like what I just did because I'm just blindly doing the same stuff, So just having a different interface with different ways I could interact with it allowed me to be more free and get out of those habits, So the grid was huge because it's a totally different paradigm. It didn't look like anything I was playing with before. So I'm not going to accidentally do something I would have done blindly before, right? So that was huge. Recently, what's funny? This wasn't a big milestone for me when it got released. I've only really been like realizing how huge this is recently. Devices like harmonic split. And I guess the reason why is because now that I'm playing more with like the spectral character in the new sampler, thinking about like just splitting sounds based on spectral analysis is a lot more interesting. And harmonic split, like I would take, again, I play with a lot of samples, right? So being able to take a sample of like some melodic phrase recorded from some, like, I don't know, French library music from the 70s, right? And then only listen to like every odd harmonic and like, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it's musically sensible, it's cool. Like it sounds interesting, but you wouldn't be able to like really place where did that come from,
No.
So I didn't even start playing with that until recently. And now that I played with it more, I'm like, man, this is mind blowing because I don't have these tools anywhere else, So I mean, I could go on the modulation system,
Yeah.
The fact that you can modulate anything however you want, modulate other modulators, like how deep you can get with that. Project remotes and track remotes, that's another big one too,
Yes.
There's a lot. In fact, here's another one. Because I was doing a lot of live performance with Ableton Live, where basically the session view, I treated it like 4 virtual decks, right? Track 1 is like my CDJ or my DJ deck. I've got like 100 songs or beats or whatever there. But what was always a pain is that I would be controlling it with the launch pad. I had my own like MIDI custom script that I was using, so I wasn't using anything default. The most difficult thing was just to change the tempo. I just want to increment the tempo by 1 BPM when I press a button. And there's no way to do it. So what I'd have to do is what I have to do? I had to do something weird where I had to like do relative bends to offset I had to do something stupid to make it work, right? Okay. So in Bitwig, I could actually map 2 things to the same parameter. So I gotta have an up button and a down button mapped to the tempo, right? And that was huge. Like I can't do that in Ableton. You just can't do it, So just little stuff like that where it's like, okay, there's more freedom and flexibility. Creating your own shortcuts and being able to assign a shortcut to a MIDI controller so I can press a button to duplicate a clip, Like it was a lot of little things, honestly. But it all started with just realizing like, okay, this is not Ableton. And I can operate with this in a very different way without having a fundamentally different interface, at least initially. So, but yeah, I mean, I could go on. There's been a lot of stuff. So
I think that this is an interesting topic with the little things, because I'm always a little bit obsessed with the little things Bitwig changes when a new version coming out, because that's exactly what you were talking about. Because you can get nearly everything this same function on every DAW, like if it's Ableton, Logic, or whatever, they are kind of having all the big features and all the stuff. But the little things, and I'm obsessed with workflow. If if you have to press a mouse or a key 10 times or 1 time makes a big difference when you're working on it. So and having those effects, like, you can create your own shortcuts. You have these things that you can map it everywhere and all this stuff. This is the little things when you get deep into a DAW. This makes, for me personally, a very big difference. And I don't mind if at the next version there has to be so many new devices or something. I don't mind that, because currently with Bitwig, I don't know since which version, you can do everything if you want to, and with the grid anyways,
Yeah.
So I really love, and I really have a lot of fun every time. That's why I always read the changelog. And I'm always like partying. So yeah, they did it, they did it. And that's the most fun for me, because all the devices they do, they are great. The new sampler is great, really, absolutely. But then you find those little things in the changelog nobody's talking about, to be in YouTube terms. These are really the great stuff, and I really like it. They put often enough the focus on these details, because that makes for me the big difference to other DAWs. I don't have to fight with the DAW. The DAW supports my workflow.
Absolutely. And one cool thing too, since we're talking about Bitwig and the new sampler with 6.1, one thing that I haven't seen it shown yet, is the slice parameter zones. So for example, if I slice, let's say like a drum break, right? One thing that always bugged me is if I slice a drum break inside of a sampler, whether it's an Ableton or whatever, you can't process the slices individually, right? Because they're all coming from the same instrument. So what's cool now is in 6.1, you have like the 3 different sample zones that you can slice zones. I forget the exact name, but it's the P's.
The P's, yeah.
P's, right.
Yeah.
So what I've been able to do, my first like practical application was I slice a drum break, and
maybe Odo show that. So
it's already there. You just have to show it.
There we go. Yes.
These P's.
Those, yeah, exactly. So that way, certain slices can be processed differently. So a really simple example: if I'm slicing a drum break, I want the hi-hat slice to be high passed, right? Especially if I've recorded it from a record. I don't want like the low record noise or whatever. So I can turn the filter on, and I'll leave it as a high pass filter, but just leave it fully open. And then I'll make it so that for the hi-hat, the cutoff is going to be higher, right? But only for the hi-hat. You can also do it as well too. So like, let's say if you want to make it so that maybe one of the slices is a lower pitch, right?
Yeah.
Or, there's a bunch of different stuff you can do, but in terms of just like filtering, that's a huge one for me. Oh, another one too. I think that I had, I sliced some percussion, and I wanted some of the percussion to be panned left and right.
So Odo, can you put it a little bit up so we can see it fully?
Okay. Like this?
Like this. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, those the slice zones, that's huge.
So maybe go slowly for someone who's not that quick and has 32 degrees here.
These are the P's we're talking about.
Yeah, okay.
With this piece, you can modulate stuff, for example, the pitch. And then when you selected this P, you can just put the amount on the several slices you want.
So okay, to repeat. So you first click one of the P's, and then you do the changes like you do normally, also with remote controlled or modulators.
You modulate the parameters you want to change. And if for example you do all this parameter, change the pitch, and then you go to the slices and dial in the amount you want to modulate that.
See, another thing I totally missed because
but there was a video from Bitwig,
really
especially about that. Yeah,
about that one. Okay, I missed that. So
that's a huge feature.
That's why we have Thavius here telling us this again, because you missed it.
That's why they pay
in the last BiCoTa, I also learned something about the sampler. So it's
This is really a really big thing. You're right. Yeah.
No, it's huge. It's huge. It's just, again, it's something that I've never seen something like that in another sampler. ever, you know. And then you combine that with the modulation that you're able to do. It's amazing. It's easily my favorite instrument, like by far. And even something as simple as like because with all the cool features, one thing I've been using a lot, especially again with drums, in the repitch mode, changing to from clean to analog.
Analog and digital. Yeah.
So with analog, there's this really nice, like, you know, tape emulation, and it can go from making the audio, like as soon as you go from the regular mode to analog, it instantly sounds less fatter, kind of dirty, a bit more full. So for drums, especially if you're going for like a lo-fi kind of gritty sound, but don't want it to be like bit crushed or have it sound too digital, it's amazing, you know. So just from a sound design perspective, I could use a saturator, but the sampler has built-in saturation basically with the analog setting there, you know. So
that's something I discovered. So this analog thing really sounds great.
That was awesome.
But today you get a free course from Thavius. Like,
go on.
Quick shot on the sampler.
Right. Have you guys played with the fragments mode much?
Yeah, sure.
Not much, but I did. Yeah.
This is, for example, where I'm reminded a little bit of ambient, because you know every little turn you do there can create a lot of different sounds and movements in there, and it's really amazing. It's really amazing.
No, fragments is it's in terms of like if you want to create, you know, grain clouds, right? Fragments is great for that. But it's also really cool because, and this is another thing that I don't really see in other places, the fact that you can set the grain size to a note value, right? So if you want to do something really interesting and kind of rhythmic, as opposed to creating a grain cloud, you could set the grain size to any sort of note interval, and the shape above the grain size is basically like the amplitude envelope of the grain, right? It's going to fade in and fade out, but you can adjust it so that it has a very quick attack, and then you can get kind of like these short, plucky, almost like raining grain textures. It's hard to describe, but you can do some really cool percussive stuff with fragments, you know.
Can we hear it, Odo?
Pardon?
Can we hear it?
There's wait. It's I'm in slice mode. Maybe go in this.
Maybe you need a longer sample or something.
Yeah.
Well, try this. Go to the grain envelope next to where it says repeats. So go up to the shape. Yeah, right there. And if you I guess if you click and hold and move it all the way to the left. Yeah, there you go. So that you have just so that it's a quick attack. You had it initially.
Like this one.
Yeah. And don't even worry about the pops, because it's only showing that exclamation point because it's saying it's going to pop. There you go. And then if you were to change the grain size, let's say to try 16th notes. And the rate as well. There you go.
Let's see if I can get another.
Yeah, something more tonal, maybe.
Yeah.
Because then when you play with that, and then along with the speed, depending on like what the source material is, you can get some pretty interesting results, you know.
Wait, I changed the speed here. I can't hear it properly. I don't think this is. Yeah,
no, maybe get search for loop something, bass loop or something, or strings.
There you go.
Turn down the volume a little bit, please. No, the other direction.
Turn down? Down.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Now the thing is, once you start adding motion to this, then it gets pretty chaotic. Yeah, go ahead and crank the motion. And then, yeah, depending on the speed, you can also freeze to play it if you wanted to, and then just modulate the play position. But yeah, if you just do that, you basically have random percussion, right? Set at whatever rate that you want, and it's totally dry, so you could affect that with delay. Just simple stuff, right? It's just a cool rhythmic texture.
Nice.
And you typically wouldn't use fragments for something like that, but it's another way to do it. So. Oh, and I saw somebody say, can you resize the sampler so you have a bigger screen to work in? Yeah, you can expand the sampler.
How you mean expand the sampler?
Yeah, because someone's asking if you can make it bigger. So there's a button on the
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I have to put that back down. So this one, and I can make it like this.
And for the person who asked, you can actually pop the sampler window out, so it's a separate window. Yeah, right there. Which is another cool thing with Bitwig. You can do that with quite a few devices.
Now I can't see it in here anymore, so this.
Yep. See, it's the kind of thing I would just spend like an hour just goofing around on. Yeah. and I would be so happy, you know.
Put some delay on it.
Yep.
Song is ready.
There you go.
Yeah. Whoa.
We're getting close. We're getting close.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, though, is that like you don't have to do a lot. So this is the other thing, I guess, that's a good point to make. When using the sampler in Bitwig, what I find is that I'm using a lot less sounds in general because I can get the few sounds I'm using to do a lot more, you know? So then it's more about like, okay, you know, you mentioned earlier, we're talking about like ambient music and, you know, not necessarily thinking that it's passive because there's so much like motion and movement that happens. It's a matter of like you kind of tuning into that, right? So if you can have one or two sounds that can go various places, that's really interesting. If there's like room to hear where they're going, you know, if they're not buried amongst a bunch of different stuff. So that's what's been fun, is just, you know, let me just see where I can take these sounds and have fun in the process, you know.
You can even do that with a completely normal synthesizer using the filter. I do that sometimes when I do regular streams, and sometimes, you know, I'm in the mood just taking the polysynth. This is the most, let's say, basic. It's not a basic synthesizer, but, you know, in kind of like other synthesizers. I just take that, use the filter, and then I play a chord. And on this chord, I just change filter settings and modulation settings, and just playing one chord over like 5 minutes. And this is really, for me, it's amazing. I don't know how the people like it when they hear it, but I really love that because it's moving like really like waves and wavering around everywhere. And this is great. Putting a little bit reverb on it, put a little bit delay on it, and you're ready for hours, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, a little reverb and delay goes a long way, but just a little bit of movement, you know. Even, you know, you mentioned polysynth, and like I'll give you one even more simple than that, right? The organ instrument in Bitwig, right? And just being able to modulate the drawbars and just create like this nice kind of additive synthesis sort of movement. And it's, you know, it can be really beautiful. It can be very haunting, but it doesn't need to be complex, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's what I'm appreciating more and more. You can have all these tools. That doesn't mean you have to make the most complicated music. Just make things that move in a satisfying way, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. I brought in the organ. I brought in the organ if you want to.
The organ. Yes. Wait.
Yeah, the organ is awesome. Yeah, and yep, exactly. Get some nice modulation going like that, especially if it's like nice and just sort of slow. And, you know, since it's an organ and typically you might associate the sound of an organ with a church or like, a place of worship. You can create these very, yeah. And ultimately you're modulating harmonics, really, right? So like, I don't know. The organ is really satisfying. And again, a little bit of reverb and delay, start with something simple, suddenly becomes this bigger haunting sort of texture. Yeah.
Add some big reverb, maybe. Yeah.
Nice. And there's convolution reverbs in there too, so there's probably a reverb from an actual cathedral somewhere.
This is the delay plus with space.
Ah, nice.
I really love that.
Nice. Yeah, no, the organ is awesome. Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
That's what you were talking of, ambient music.
Yeah, we have the next track ready.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to get the band back together, see?
Yeah.
The origin bed.
Yeah.
But, that's another example too, though, just something that's just cool about Bitwig. The LFOs can go into, audio rate modulation easily,
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a sound designer's sandbox,
Let's modulate everything.
Let's do it. Just because you can, doesn't mean you should. No.
I'm sorry.
No, that was actually beautiful. I like it. Yes. Gotta get the car started.
Yeah, that's so. What is that? Why does Bitwig not have weekly Q&A like Cubase does so many clues about? No, we all here doing a lot of tutorials offline and online to show people how things work. And there's Polarity too doing that, and there's Dash Glitch doing that. There are a lot of really good YouTubers doing that. So
yeah, it's just a matter of just if you're interested, if you like Bitwig, if you're using it in cool ways, join the chorus. Help us tell more people about it.
Absolutely.
I believe I was the first person ever to create a Bitwig course for a music college. I had a Bitwig elective at Berkeley. The last one that I taught went really, really well. I've been doing the Bitwig certification events. Been trying to preach the good Bitwig gospel, but it's a matter of people need to see why they would want to use it, right? Like you can tell folks all day and you can spout off a feature list, but unless people see the one thing that's compelling to them that is a useful creative feature, then it's just another thing to learn, right? And the big thing that I've realized too, once you get to a certain point at being good at something or proficient, it's kind of painful to be bad at something again, right? And a lot of people don't want to work through the process of being like, I can already do this at a certain level in this other DAW. I don't want to have to relearn how to do it proficiently in a new thing, right? And that might influence your creative process because suddenly you're making a bunch of stuff that doesn't sound great because you don't know how to use the tool. If you can just deal with that and don't worry about, if you can get through the process of things sounding bad, knowing that you can eventually make them sound better, and that's part of the process, then it's more rewarding, right? It doesn't feel like you're failing. So I think one big thing that's preventing folks from getting into Bitwig, they just don't want to learn a whole new thing to find the one or two things that makes it worthwhile to them, So it's just more creative showcases, more people talking about it in cool ways, less tutorials and more here's a cool song and let me talk to you about this one thing I did that made the song cool, So I guess just more outlets. What you guys are doing is great. And I'm really happy to be here. And my big thing is I think the people at Bitwig are just good people. Like, I consider Placidus like an actual friend, the CEO of Bitwig. And I appreciate what they're doing. The whole sort of ethos behind how the project has evolved. They're doing it sustainably. They're doing it responsibly.
Right.
I've seen a lot of companies grow too quickly and then have to slash a bunch of staff. And it's like, so all that to say, I want them to succeed. Not because they're paying me, because they're not. I'm not employed by Bitwig at all. Like I just really like what they're doing. So, for those of you in the chat, if you showed up here, thank you, because clearly you care enough to be here. If you're using it, tell your friends. All we can do is let people know. And if they like it, they'll let some other folks know. So. Bitwig can never come to an iPad. I highly doubt it, but I will tell you this. I was with Bitwig when they created the touch interface because they did it to show, well, I don't know if they did it specifically for this. When Microsoft first put out the Surface Book laptop, the very first Surface Book, Bitwig had partnered with Microsoft so that they would have a DAW to show off the touch screen, right? So Bitwig created the touch interface that we all know and love today. And I was there to show it off at Microsoft's unveiling of the Surface Book. I actually still have the Surface Book that they gave me. I had to replace my work laptop, but that's a different story. So would it ever come to an iPad? I highly doubt it. But if you have a Windows computer with a touch screen or a Linux computer with a touch screen, then you basically have a touch version of Bitwig. So
and there are the rumors that Mac finally will get it to touch.
Oh man, it's funny because Macs are great for audio, visual, multimedia stuff, but I'm not a fan of how Apple operates at all. But it's things work out of the box, right? But I actually have my MacBook was my work computer. I have a Mac Mini as my main computer at home. But I have a Surface Go that I put Linux on. I put CachyOS on there.
Yes.
To salvage it. It works really, really well. And it's funny because it's a very old, low-powered computer, but with CachyOS, Bitwig runs really well, And the Surface Go is essentially kind of like an iPad, It's small. It's got a touch screen. Got a nice little kickstand. So I can use Bitwig on there as if I'm using an iPad, but I've got a full DAW, So all that's my long answer to say I don't think Bitwig's ever going to come to an iPad, just because I don't think Bitwig is interested in making like a splintered. I don't think they have enough staff to devote to having multiple things to allocate resources to, right? Like the Bitwig 8-track version, the full version, it's all the same program, right? So they're not like dividing resources. I don't know that would even make sense for them to have a separate app that then you now have to allocate coding resources to this versus that, So, but I don't know. I don't have inside information. So
yeah, it would have been to be a completely new development, and I don't think that they have, as you said, the resources to do such a thing.
And I think more important would be because the upcoming ARM architecture on the PCs for Windows and Linux is maybe another thing. I don't know how much work you have to put in there. If it's just a compiler switch, I don't think so. So because you normally always have to get into a technology. So I don't think either that iPad is really an option. It's maybe a nice tool for a lot of instruments and stuff. But I'm old-fashioned. I'm on Linux, I use computers. I don't even have an iPad or pad or whatever. So, yeah.
I think it's more reasonable that they come with more hardware.
Yeah, I would see that definitely before, a separate app or something. And like I said, it's already touch enabled, and if you're not like a Mac exclusive person, then you can use it with the touch screen now. It just is not an iPad, so
absolutely.
Or if you have a Mac and an iPad, you can just move the window to the iPad and then use it with the touch of the iPad.
True. Right. True. So it's already on the iPad.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. We'll see.
Fixed.
Fixed. Check.
So We even did mention Linux now twice.
Yeah, that's good. And I had the pleasure to talk to Alexandre Piquet, who is kind of the Linux and the clap guy. And this was 2 years ago, I think, with you.
Yeah, he was not there this year.
Yeah, exactly. And the Linux implementation is really great. That was one reason I was so happy that I could ditch Ableton away, because Ableton was the last reason I had a Windows computer in my house. And since then, since Bitwig, I don't need to fight with Windows in my personal life again.
That's a big plus. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of Windows either, but they're necessary. I won't say necessary evils, because that's like, that's a bit too far. But yeah, Linux is great. Linux can be kind of a pain, for certain things that you may need. But like, I don't know, if you're savvy enough and you're willing to jump through some hurdles, Linux can be great, especially on older hardware, So, but yeah, I use a little bit of everything because I kind of have to. And it's not like I have like huge moral issues with. Well, I guess maybe, but that's for another time.
We don't want to talk about that.
No. We're having fun here. Everything's good. But yeah, I mean, it's just good to just have tools that you know how to use ultimately. So yeah, I've got OS X in the house. I've got Windows here. I got Linux, and I jump between them, just because I need to. So
it's a tool, and that's how we use it.
Yep, and Bitwig works on all of them. So there you go.
Yes.
So what's next? Let's talk about the future. Thavius, what will be next on your table?
It's a good question. I have been itching to release some more creative projects. So we talked a little bit about like this ambient thing I'm slowly working on. There's 2 other projects that I'm slowly working on that I hope to release relatively soon-ish, by the end of the year, I would think. And those will probably just be like through Bandcamp. It's not going to be through some big label or anything. More than likely, I won't have it on Spotify either, because that's a whole nother thing that I don't have, I have my own personal issues with. So, but I think that's really the thing now is finding ways to best express myself while maintaining integrity and not feeling like I have to. Yeah, I'm trying to find the best way to say this diplomatically. Normally, I have like kind of a potty mouth, so I'm not trying to be like, speaking too freely. But, just being able to operate in a way where I feel good about what my art is doing in the world, right? And part of that has to do with not feeling like I need to sell my art to pay rent and to eat. So finding the best sort of like, not compromise, but complement there, So I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I enjoy teaching. I clearly have some sort of, people tell me I'm good at it. So teaching would be good. I don't think I ever really want to teach at a proper college again. But like if the right situation pops up, that could be great. But I think the big thing is I just want to be an artist again. I kind of haven't really, I've sort of put that on the back burner because of, family and teaching and whatever else. And I don't know. I kind of just want to feel like a creative person again. So focusing on that while I still have a few more checks coming, and then I'll have to pay rent eventually, and then we'll see what's up then. So
yeah, that's always
sounds like a plan. Yeah,
it sounds like something. Yeah.
And Odo, what's next for you?
I still working on some releases, and I hope I get it ready this year. I'm working
music or tutorials or what?
Music tutorials anyway. But because I have a big load of music I never released, and I'm working slowly on making it ready and trying to put it in kind of not an album, but on a kind of I don't know how like 10 or 15 things together like an album. And I really want to release it for a long time, and I needed some time to because it's my babies, and there's a lot of feelings with it, and it's always like this scary moment when you say, okay, maybe
what kind of music will it be?
all kind of music.
All kind of music.
Yeah, because I'm doing lots of different kinds of music. I'm always have difficulties to know what it is. I try to make like electronic music stuff, but sometimes in between is something totally weird in between because I like it. So I do it.
Country and Western.
I'm not really sure. Maybe there is something I can't remember now. But if I'm in the mood to do something like that, I do like that, because you can always learn from other genres, even if they are maybe not so popular in your bubble. But this is music, and this is in a lot of sense like a craft that people have in this particular genre, and there's always something you can discover on that, even if you don't like it or if you don't do it or whatever. But everything is interesting. So I try to go to music in a curious way, not in a taste way. There's really little genres I don't like, and I really have body pain when I have to listen to that. But this is kind of my history. Why I know where this comes from. It's not the fault of the music. So that's why. And tutorials as well. I have too many topics on tutorials.
And if someone doesn't know, Odo is doing a live stream every Thursday. It's mainly in German, but if you annoy him in English, he will answer in English as well.
Sure.
And he's always doing a full song. So I'm really looking forward to your release. It's always sad that it's gone after this show.
Yeah, the last one was kind of Goa psytrance things, but this was more like I want to discover some sound design, how you do some stuff. And because I was struggling with that for a long time, and I figured something out, and I tried that, and it worked pretty well. And this will be in some tutorials as well. So, and there's a lot of like compressor stuff I want to talk about since a long time. So that's my plan.
That's your plan. That's great.
And yours, Jürgen?
I have soon, in 2 weeks, I have 3 weeks of summer break. So I will definitely make lots of music there. So we absolutely need to finish our Border Machine project. This is the one I'm doing with my Swiss friend, which is electronic music, but also my rock band, which also exists since 25 years plus something. We really want to finish a new album and then have to lay down the keyboards and synths. So that's lots of fun currently to do.
That's awesome.
Oh, nice.
And what people might more be interested in, Convert with Mosso, the free and open source multi-sample converter. I got a crazy contribution guy. So big shout out to Douglas Carmichael. He contributed now 5 new formats. It's insane.
And so, one of those formats
is the Deluge.
Multi-sample. Yeah.
So you can read and also write Deluge format. Yeah, show it again. Yeah. we should get some money for that, I think.
Yeah, right.
Nice. Christmas is coming. I see.
Yeah. It's worth it.
It is.
Yeah, so absolutely look forward to version 19, which will be insane update. And yeah, I always try to push it out, and then there's new stuff contributed. So. But I have it on the table for next week to have this going.
Oh, nice.
Can we get Emu? Emu is also on my list, but that's a lot of re-engineering work first. I think it's not really documented, but
you can help him with re-engineering.
Re-engineering is always good to have some people to do that. It's not really fun.
And maybe you can give an outlook for the next show a little bit, a teaser.
Right. How can I forget that? Good hint. So next show, we try to be more organized. That's our first thing to do. And so we really organize the shows till the end of the year. We're not really regularly. But the next show is already set for the 13th of September, and we will be joined by Jeff Kirkwood. And I met Jeff at Superbooth as well, and he's an absolute tinkerer and script writer as well. So we will be more on the nerdy side in that show, and he's he showed me already some stuff at Super Booths here, so he has some great idea for scripting. It's not your usual I control something. It's really cool stuff, also with AI integration and thing, but he will show us himself in the next show. And then close to the end of the year, in November the 15th, we have Nicola Grigatti. You might have met him at Super Booth as well, so he's doing a bit of work also for Bitwig sometimes, but he's mainly also an artist and is touring currently, and he will tell us all about his music and his touring with Bitwig. So he's using Bitwig exclusively for his live gigs in the November show. So I'm really curious about that one. And take note of the dates. We hopefully did as well.
I did.
And try to be there as well, yeah. So if you have any last questions, ask them now or in the next show.
Or in the comments.
Or in the comments, sure. If you have any further questions or comments, write them down in the comments. And Thavius, thanks so much for being there. It was really a pleasure talking to you and get insights from someone really working in the music industry as well.
No, thank you for having me. This has been great. I really appreciate it.
Really nice. And when you have questions to Thavius or want to know which event will start or when he's releasing, follow him on Instagram as well. So you will be the first one who know.
There you go. Yeah. And hopefully, like I said, we'll have a certification event before the end of the year, probably in October. So if you're curious, just keep your eyes and ears open.
Yeah. So
perfect.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. This has been great. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you guys.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you.